Hey everybody, this is me, Undead Viking. I want to talk to you about this game. It's called Ceti, Planetary Crisis. I did a review of kind of a first edition version of this game a while back. The company went through Kickstarter and they didn't quite make their funding level, so they went back to the drawing board and they kind of redid a lot of the things within the game and reset themselves, and then kind of streamlined the game a little bit and made it even better, which is kind of impressive because I really like the original game as well. So let me show you how to play Ceti. This is an excellent Space 4X game. And then we'll come back here and I'll tell you more about why I like this one. Alright, cool. Let's do this. Alright, this is Ceti, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to play. Now, this is a prototype that I was sent, so just keep that in mind as I show you the game. What you see here may or may not be present in the final published version of this game. This game has its funding, which is awesome, so it is going to get published. So just keep that in mind. I'm also not going to go through every single tiny little rule of the game. I want to kind of keep this gameplay portion to a minimum if I can. This is going to give you a really good overview of how the game of Ceti is played and focus on some of the core mechanisms, but I do invite you to go ahead and go to the Kickstarter page so you can read the rules in depth if that interests you, if you want to check that out. So, alright, so the game is set up by the players. You have this Ceti, the sun, that the center, technically, sort of, maybe, of the universe or the galaxy that you're in. That you set up, the solar system or what have you, and then the players then themselves build placing these larger tiles. You can kind of see there's little spots where you can see they interlock, if you will. You set that up, and then after you set up, then people decide which planet and which race they'll play, and then they're going to get one of these player boards here, and I'll talk about those in just a little bit, and then you're going to go ahead and all of these spots that aren't on the planets, the main 4 planets that are your home, are going to have these little dots that are where these exploration tokens go. And I'm going to explain exploration tokens when I get into the actions, but then you set that up. Now, this isn't the whole thing. You have these other locations, these other things that you can use to expand out and create more, and when you expand out, you'll just be placing these like so when you build them, and build up more locations that this solar system will encompass. Now, there's things in here like these wormholes that you can use to move between wormhole to wormhole, so you can have like wormholes like that. You'll have these like cosmic energy locations that can possibly damage your ships. Also, like an asteroid field, and there's asteroid fields on there that can possibly damage ships as well. Stuff like that I'll get into more, but this isn't the extent of it. Now, I have kind of a smaller gaming table here in my game room slash video center, so I can't really expand it out for you, but just keep that in mind that this game will take up a little bit of real estate as far as your table is concerned. But it isn't as big, so to speak, as like a game of Eclipse or Twilight Imperium. It doesn't get that large, but regardless. Alright, so after you set that up and after you determine which alien race you're going to play, you get this little dude here, and this is your captain of your starship, and so then you have these little stats and stuff back here. I'll kind of talk more about that in the middle, but it'll tell you like what your starting like settings are. As far as you're starting money, or Tau as it's called, you're starting energy over here, and then you'll just begin the game, and you have your starting stats for your spaceship that can possibly be improved. That's something I'll talk about here in just a little bit as well. And then you go ahead and you place your ship on your home planet. You determine a first player, and then you're off and running. So one of the core concepts of this game, this is kind of a 4X game. You're exploring, you're checking things out, you're attacking each other, things like that. On your turn, during a game turn, and the games last, I should mention, the games will last either 8 turns for a short game or 10 turns plus for like a longer epic game. By 10 turns plus, what I mean is that the game, once it reads like turn 10, you'll roll a die, and on a 4, 5, or 6, you'll go to an 11th turn, and then you'll roll another 6-sided, and on the 11th turn, and if you get a 5 or 6, you'll go to 12, and then the game will end. So it has a variable ending. But on a turn, in turn, what will happen is that players will be using these little discs, and they'll be placing them on their player board there to take actions. You can take actions over and over again. You can do the same action 4 times if you want. You're only limited by like your location on the board as far as being able to interact with things that are going on, but also by your money, because things cost money, and also energy, because things cost energy. So you're just limited by your resources and what have you. So I'm going to kind of go through the different actions. I'm not going to go like alphabetical or anything. I just want to touch on one of the big core mechanisms of the game, and that is exploration. Exploration is not like adding a tile to the board. You know, that is exploring, but exploring is getting your ship into a spot that has these little tokens, these little exploration tokens. And on the backs of these tokens, these are placed randomly. You get a bunch of them. On the backs of these tokens, there is a tau. That's the symbol for the tau, like money. When you go to the location, you choose to explore it, and what you'll do is you'll flip this over, and on the back here, there'll be an icon. And so then there's this little like icon with a bubbling beaker, if you will. And so you place that on there, and so now to explore that, what you're going to be doing is you are going to be going through this deck, this exploration deck, and finding the first card that has that icon on it. So you kind of flip through it like this, and hopefully you find one sooner or later. And I'm not finding one, of course, it's taking forever. I swear there's one in here. Hold on. Yeah, I'm just going to keep going. This is kind of embarrassing, but I don't care. Ah, there we go. So I finally found one. So we take this and then we turn it over, and this is so it says it's a chemical. Neon light is emitting from a small hole in a nearby asteroid. You suspect it is diphenyl oxalate, but check its properties to be sure. So you use your industry tools to take a sample of the glowing chemical. And so what this says here is on a 5 or 6, you're going to get +1 knowledge, which means you get that knowledge token that's on that location. Now, if you don't get a 5 or 6 on your dice that you roll, on a 9 through 16, you still would just get +1 energy. If you get a 2 through 8 total, you're going to take a damage to your ship. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a check against your ability. Now each race has 2 skills they're good at. So like my this dude here, the Dr. Krenji, he's really good at science, and he's pretty good at logistics, but everything else, every other skill, he's got a 2 on. So in this situation, I'm going to be able to roll 2 dice. And so I'm going to roll, and hopefully I get like a 5 or 6 in these 2 dice. I'm just going to roll. I didn't get a 5 or a 6. Now you do have the ability to spend resources to re-roll your dice. So like if you re-rolled or whatever, and then I got my 6 or whatever. So you have unlimited, like those are called like free actions, and you can do those, or they're minor actions. And so if you fail, obviously, like that one, I rolled a 4 and a 3, we'd have a 7, so we'd take a damage, but we didn't want to do that, so we re-rolled, but we succeeded. So when you succeed, you take this and you put it like off to the side, and you get to take this little knowledge token. Now that's all well and good. Knowledge tokens are good for a lot of reasons, and I'll explain those in a little bit. But the big thing is that you opened up that spot that allows you then to take a cube of your color, and all the cubes are kept in this bag, something I'll explain also in just a little bit, just bear with me. And you will take one of these cubes and you'll place it on that location. It's kind of like your ownership. It's saying, hey, I control this area of the world, the Zuron asteroid or whatever. I have that spot. Now, later on, you can do what's called a build action. Now, when you build, there's a couple things you do. First thing you do when you build is that it actually is going to cost you, to build. You actually it costs resources, obviously, to build things. To determine how much it costs, you have to go ahead and look at the back of your character sheet. Again, remember, the number one thing we have is science. And you can see there's a little helix there that represents science. Now, you probably can't see this, and I apologize for that. But this board over here is the Ceti exchange. It tells you what certain types of technologies and industry and things like that cost. And all of the things start off at level 1. Now, and I haven't touched on the actual crisis section, but when you have crises, they will cause these tokens to raise up, and so it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 as they go up. So in this case, the price for building is always 2 times the primary of your market resource. So it's like in here it's 1, so science is at a 1, so it would cost you, the pay cost would be 2 to go ahead and build on there. Now, why do you build? Because you get to take your cube off of that location and place it on your home planet. Now you've actually, and you get to then take one of your orbitals, and you have 4 of these, and you get to place it on that spot. Now, there's 2 things that happen. By having an orbital on that spot, that's going to be worth points at the end of the game. By having your cubes on your planet, that's going to be worth points at the end of the game. And so that's one of the core mechanisms of the game, because this game is a victory point game, and you're trying to be the person that has the most points at the end of the game, and that is one of the ways that you can go about doing that. Now, over in these locations, you can see there's more of these tokens, and if you look closely, you can see that these have these little lines, so they kind of have like a little bridge in these situations. And so when you're in one of these locations and you do the process of exploring it, and then if you're, like, let's say purple, explored that one, and notice you have to be in these locations, so like purple, they're over here, they'd be over here, and they're doing the explore. And so if purple done that, we're going to go ahead and once again reach into the bag, and if I can find a purple cube, and they're all in here, so I should be able to find one, there we go. You go ahead and you place that on there like so. But you can't go ahead and do anything with that. I apologize. You don't put that on there just yet. What you're going to do instead, because you only have 1, you're going to go ahead and place your little flag, this little flag, to mark that one so nobody else can take it. I got to step ahead of myself. And so then, after you explore that last one, what happens is then you go ahead and place your cube on that location. And then you can go ahead with the process of purple wood, build on that spot, and then replace that with, and then you'd put the cube over there. So that's how those work with the 2 locations on there. And so it just, once again, that's just one of those things where it slowly you move out. Now, because these are more difficult, like this one right here is worth 1 victory point at the end of the game for having an orbital on there. Like this one, it is worth 2 points if you have an orbital on there. So there are, like, it's worth more to go through the process of having it on there. So that's how those build actions work. Now, in no certain order here, there are other actions that you can take are recruit action. Now, one of the things about the player boards are, and I should have shown you this when I did the build, and I'll show you right now, is that you have this board right here in the middle, and you start off in the middle here with 3. So let's just go ahead and say this is actually blue. So let's just put this little token right there. And so what happens is, this will go back and forth on the board like so. When you build, it moves this way. So every time you build it. When you do an upgrade to your ship, it moves this way. So whenever you do a recruit action, you look at where your token is on this board, and whatever the amount is to the right of it is the amount that costs to recruit. So as you build, it costs more to recruit, and as you upgrade, it costs less. Now, the reason behind the upgrade being better is one of the things they say is, like, as you make your ship better, as you, like, improve your ship, it impresses the specialists that you want to recruit. And they'll, like, want to come and join you because you have a nice looking ship. That's the theme of it. But anyway, so when you do a recruit action, you will take these 2 cards. Now you see these 2 decks here. One of these has the like global crises, or I should say planetary crises, and one of them has a specialist. Now, in this case, we have nuclear catastrophe, which is a crisis, and you have a microbiologist, which is that prevents biohazard crisis. Now, you might be saying, well, why do I have these? Well, there's a couple reasons why you have them. One, you need these guys to prevent some crises from happening, and also you need them to resolve crises that have already happened. Now, I haven't shown you how the crises show up, so just kind of put this in the back of your head until I get to that point. But also you get these, you get crises. Now you might be saying, why do I have a crisis? Once again, put this in the back of your head, realize that you have these cards in your hand, and when we get to the point of like showing you how the crises work, we'll actually know why it's important for you to go through the recruitment process. Here's a hint: it'll actually lead to more points for you at the end of the game. You can undertake what's called an interplanetary mission. If you take the action to take an interplanetary mission, you will take the top 3 cards from the deck here. You're going to pick one of those, and you're going to go ahead and take that mission. Now, some of these missions are like alternate defense alert system. Announce activate code 7 Beta Alpha Zulu. Use your diplomacy skills to activate. If you succeed, you get money. You know, so it's things like that. However, I didn't grab one here. A lot of these are just like succeed in a certain thing. Some of these are transport missions where you'll just take this card and it'll say you're going to deliver this to the Zoran asteroid. Upon delivery, you collect money equal to the quantity delivered, your cargo hold size, whatever. In this particular case, like the cargo hold here is 2. You can increase that with upgrades, and then the distance traveled. And so you show that you traveled a great distance and you have a lot of it. You can earn money that way. Those are how the interplanetary missions will work. And when the 2 missions that you don't take, you put on the bottom of the deck. You just keep the one that you do. And when you do that, you actually put it on your. I'm going to move this up a little bit so you can see. You put it on your player board right there. And then you can only have one in play at any one time, and so you can't take another one until you get rid of the one that you're working on. You can do what's called, you can repair your ship. Sometimes, like because of crisis or because of a knowledge check or whatever, you might take damage. And obviously through battle, you're going to place the damage on these locations when they get damaged. To repair them, it costs money. If you're on a place with a planet, they cost 1 per damage token. If you're like out in space flying around, it costs 2 per damage token. But you can remove those, as long as you have money to pay to remove them. You can repair your ship. Moving is just pretty straightforward. You take a move action, costs energy. All these like actions that like you're gonna see. I'm gonna show you this actually again, so you can kind of see it close up. You can notice on all those actions, on the bottom of them, they will tell you like how much it's like -1, +2, all those things like that. It'll tell you like how much energy those cost when you do them. So you take the energy, and whatever the propulsion system is on your ship, you can move that many sectors. Now, there's 2 things about moving. If you move through a spot that has asteroids in it, you have to roll a die. On a 5 or 6, you're fine. Anything else, you take that amount of damage minus the shields that you have. If you go into a place that has cosmic energy, like these that I showed you before, if you go through a spot that has cosmic energy, you do the same thing. You roll a die. On a 5 or 6, you're fine. Anything else, you take that amount of damage minus your shields again. Minus the computer's skill that your ship has. So shields for asteroids, computers for cosmic energy. Just keep that in mind. You can upgrade. You can probably, it's tough to see them, but all the way up here on this board, you're going to see that there's these upgrades that you can add. And so what you do is like if you have an upgrade, you're going to go ahead and like say you want to improve your shields. So like here's the anti-laser shields. They have a 3 on there. And you can go through these and pick the one that you want. And you go ahead and, to pay the upgrade cost, you go ahead and just put it on the ship. And now that's your new spot on there. When you do an upgrade, remember, you move this over because you're making your ship look nice, so people want to come and work with you. And to pay for it, you pay the upgrade token's power capacity, which in case is 3, times the market level of the associated resource. Now, the associated resource is behind this, so this is shield, so it's a military resource. And if this was up, say, in 3 military, like for whatever reason that because of crises, the military had gone up to level 3, you would take 3 times 3, you would pay 9 for that particular upgrade, and you just go ahead and add that on to your ship. If you're ever running out of energy, you can just choose to refuel. If you do a refuel action, you just add 2 energy, and that's the entire action. You can do that anytime you want, when it's your turn to take an action. And then selling and buying. Selling and buying is pretty simple. Each one of these planets has a demand token on it, meaning they want that resource delivered to them. You can get those resources from any of the planets, but it costs more on a planet that has a demand. So, say you wanted to deliver these little this bioscience resource that I forget what the name of it is to this planet, and you wanted to go pick some up. So if you were over here, you could, on that planet, you could buy those resources and fill up your cargo hold. Each ship has a cargo level, you can see right there, and then for every spot they can, they can have cargo in that, and then you place the cargo on the bottom track down there. So if you buy that, you just take this token that shows that you have it, and so like, and say we bought 2 here, and then we go ahead and place that in that location like so, to show that we had 2, and then later, we pay the market price for it over here, to whatever it was. When you buy from a planet, you go ahead and change the demand. So you're going to return this one, and you're going to draw a new demand token and put it on there, so the demand changes. And then, if you make it over to this location, you then would sell it to it, and then you sell, because the demand is higher, you sell it for a higher price, which is always good. And you go ahead, once again, you get rid of that, and you'd add a new demand token on there. So the markets are constantly changing for these planets. And so that's a way you can make money. And money actually is obviously a resource that you need to be able to succeed. But also, having money is actually worth points at the end of the game as well. So you can just try to, be the merchant in this game and make scads and scads of cash and try to win the game that route. So those are the different actions. I mentioned that there were the different minor actions. You can trade with other players if you want. This is kind of an open game like that. You can trade, you can also, you can return specialist cards on a 2-for-1 basis and trade those. You can trade knowledge tokens. Tough to see, but there's knowledge tokens up here that get placed up there, and then those will, and you can trade knowledge tokens that you have for other knowledge tokens. I'll explain why you want knowledge tokens in just a little bit. Hint: it's a way to solve crises and get points, so you might want those. Some specialist cards have special abilities. So here's this maintenance officer. So they have that special ability there. It's repair unlimited damage for 2 Tau. And +1 die on all military skill checks. So you have these other specialists that you have that work for you, and so you'd have their special abilities. You can use those as a minor action as well. Also, you can also do what's called pick up and deliver one of your own resource cubes that you have to another planet. If you do that though, that planet to another planet's in crisis. But it's got to be actually affecting your highest skill set. Upon delivery, you would then earn a diplomacy card, which is one of these. And as soon as you earn a diplomacy card, when you do the recruit action, you can just recruit the specialists and not have to pick up a crisis card if you don't want to. So that's kind of a nice little added bonus, and you get to keep that diplomacy card for the rest of the game. Because basically what you've done is you've given up a victory point. You've taken a cube that you've already produced on your planet, you've dropped it off at somebody else's planet, and you're allowing them to have that extra point at the end of the game, but then you get the diplomacy card, which in the long run might be a greater assistance to you. So there you go. I mean, those are the main actions. Like I said, I didn't go too depth for each one, but that should give you a really good idea of how that works. Now, there's a battle phase. After all the actions are done, battle phase, people declare battles by taking their this little hex here, and they only can declare one battle, and they place it on the location that they're going to fight. So say green wanted to attack that orbital to take it over, and so they'd have those points at the end of the game. So the ships will meet, and they will fight, and they will fight over that particular location. And battle works very, very simple. So one person is the initiator, one person is the defender. The initiator will go ahead and have the number of dice equal to the weapons that they have on their ship. So there's the weapons values too. But before the battle happens, each player will take the action discs that they have according to their shields, and they will place them on the locations that they want to defend, for shields. So say I did that, and then I rolled and I did my 2 dice, and I attacked, and we won't bother with that. So now, let's say purple attacked me back, because I'm fighting purple. Purple has 2 dice, and they roll the 2 dice, and we see what happens. So they roll, and they got a 1 and a 5. So they hit 1, and they hit 5. So the 5, I put my shield on the location, so that's automatically blocked, and that can't happen. Now, before I apply any damage, I get to take 1 die for every computer level that I have. I have 1, and I can hope that I roll a 1 to counteract the damage. So let's see what I get here. I didn't. So what happens is I place a damage token on that location. Now, after a round of combat, either person can say they're going to flee. If they flee, they automatically lose the battle, obviously, and the other person will get a, like, for winning a battle, you get a 1 victory token here for doing so, which are cool because you can turn them in for the money that's on the back at any time. You can get +6 money for turning them in, but obviously you give up on the victory point. But you can continue to fight, and each person just goes back and forth, and you fight until one person either loses a system that they have, so they take enough damage. So, like, let's say you took enough damage to your propulsion, and it's destroyed. So, you know, and then you lose because you lost one of your like ship systems, your ship's abilities. Or if you went into battle with something that was already destroyed, say like my propulsion was already destroyed and I took a hit to that already, that would also signify the end of the battle. Now, you might be saying, well, why would you retreat? And because if you don't retreat, the other player gets an added bonus, like for being the victor and actually like defeating you in the combat and not actually having you run away. So the winner will then, in the location, gets to take over either a resource cube or 1 orbital that the loser had in that sector, and they replace it with one of their own. And they also get to steal 1 of the following. They get to steal a crisis card or a specialist card. They look at the person's hand and get to take 1. They get to take a knowledge token that they might have. Or, if they're in the process of transporting a resource cube for the diplomacy, they can steal that as well. So that is one of those things that, like, maybe retreating, you want to get away and just say, fine, you win, I don't care, you know, I'm just going to get out of this system and, you know, I don't want you to steal my stuff. So there. So that's the battle phase, and that would end the turn. Now, I didn't talk about the first phase of the game because, like, at the beginning of the game, in the first turn, you don't actually do the enlightenment phase. But this is where the crises come in. So after the first turn, at the beginning of the turn, what you'll do is you'll draw 1 card that's like a crisis and 1 card that is a specialist. You take these and you put them face down. And then each person, if they have these cards, these crisis cards and what have you, they can go ahead and add those to the deck. And for each card you add to the deck, you get +2 energy. This is the main way you get energy back. So it kind of it behooves you to do that. Now, before that happens, before you draw any cards or anybody puts in, you draw a cube from the bag, and you find out that this is the planet that is going to be affected. So for any crisis that possibly happens. So you go ahead, and so it'll be the silver or gray planet that is affected. So let's just put a few cards in. So, like so. So now you can put more crises in if you have those crisis cards, but you can also put specialists in the hopes that you help. So when you turn these over, what you're going to do is you're going to look and say, okay, we look for the crises. So we have 2 crisis cards, and we have a nuclear crisis, 2 nuclear crises. And so then we're going to look and see if we have any specialists that actually, you know, prevent nuclear crisis. So none of them prevent nuclear crisis cards. So unfortunately, we have 2 nuclear catastrophes that are going to happen on that particular spot. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and take these tokens, and then you look at the back, and this one is like a diplomacy resource, and this one's a military resource. So you would increase those on those particular spots like so, and you leave them on there, and then you leave those crisis cards in play. And then they also have effects where it's like all captains who have diplomacy special lose 1 nuclear knowledge token. All captains who have diplomacy special lose 2 energy. So you have these effects, and so you go ahead and kind of place those on there so you know that they're going on. Now, you might be saying, so how do you get rid of those? Well, if they'd been on there, these particular people, then you would have been able to take care of it. You would have been able to get rid of them. But during your turn, as a minor action, I'm going to have to dig through and find a nuclear specialist here. Just give me a second. If you have a specialist, like this guy that says prevents a nuclear crisis or resolves a nuclear crisis, and you have one of these, you can discard both of those, and you can discard one of those, and then you gain a +3 victory point token for doing so. If you don't have the correct specialist, but you had 3 of these tokens, you could go ahead and do it too without having to have the specialist. And that is a really big way for you to earn victory points, actually. Even though you might be helping out other people because of the fact that, like, the crisis might, just, like, because of the fact that, like, obviously you want it to happen, it might actually hurt you because, like, if you had a situation where your leader was affected by that particular response, but in the long run it's worth points to you for actually solving the crisis and being able to be the one to cure it. And so that's one of those cool things that happens with this deck, is that if you have a situation where it is set up where you know you have the right token, you know you have the right specialist, you might put a crisis into the situation, have it happen, have it occur, and then knowing that you could solve it on your turn, and when you solve it, obviously you get those victory points. You take that small hit, possibly, to get victory points in the long run. So that is where the planetary crisis part comes in, and that is why you're collecting all those knowledge tokens to be able to do those things. So there you go. Well, I mean, okay, so that is Tau Ceti, as an overview. I hope that makes sense to you, and I hope it, it kind of flows. Like I said, there's a lot more other rules, those are the major rules, I guess, but there's some minor things and some minor differences about the different tokens and how these different boards are changed, or like how the Tau Ceti exchange can be altered and things like that. But for the most part, that is how to play the game. I invite you, as I said, to go and check out the rules at length. I really dug this game for so many reasons. It's not like any other 4X game I've played. It has, kind of like this, like, I like the crisis part. It has this weird kind of like risk-reward thing that I experienced that I really, really enjoyed, and really added to the immersion and the understanding of the game world that they're creating here. But let me talk more about that in my conclusion, which I'll do right now. Alright, thanks for sitting through the kind of longer how to play the game version of the video here. I do apologize for that. I mean, the game has a lot going on, and I wanted to make sure you had a pretty good idea of it, but I also didn't want to make it super long and like showing every single bit. But I hope you have a pretty good idea of how the game is played. So there you go. I mean, that's Tau Ceti. I mean, it is a Space 4X game. There's lots of Space 4X games out there. People have these different takes on this genre, if you will, and I enjoy a lot of them. I mean, there's been a few out there that have clunked for me, but for the most part, it's a type of game that I really, really enjoy. I think it hauls back to my days of playing Master of Orion, or I believe the old game, I had a game called like Empires of Space or Space Empire or something like that. I mean, these are games computer games that I played when I was growing up. And then, of course, I found out about games like Twilight Imperium, obviously Eclipse, things like that. The games, kind of expanded upon that idea and really made me feel like I was part of that, like, kind of space opera, that space epic. And I like the fact that not all of them are just, like, cookie cutter presentations, and Tau Ceti is definitely not one of those cookie cutter presentations. I mean, the whole thing is that this game could have just been, hey, move from planet to planet, take them over, attack each other, see what you can do. That'd been very, very basic, and the game could have been very, very good. But the game, the level of the game that really makes it fun is the planetary crisis part of it. It is that whole thing of, like, there's these ongoing issues that are always going on in these different locations of the universe. And, they might not affect you. And so you could say, oh, well, screw it. You guys deal with it. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to, correct these resources. But the bottom line is that it's actually worth it to you to go about the process of actually solving and curing those things, because they're worth victory points. And what the game actually becomes, in a lot of ways, it becomes not only a race to grab this territory and a race to get your orbitals and like your resource cubes back onto your planet, things like that. It also becomes like this kind of race to be the person that is the curer, if you will. That you want to be the one that is that collects these knowledge tokens and gets the right specialist. So then you can go ahead and process those negative issues that are going on the different planets, because then you're the savior, if you will, and plus they're worth a lot of points at the end of the game. And it's just like if in a pinch you can use them for resources, you can use them for money as well. The best part about this game is actually the balancing of all of that. It's balancing your money, it's balancing your energy. It's, balancing, don't spread yourself too thin, make sure you are able to protect what you have, those types of things. And plus, if you play it, in a lot of ways, I kind of like the 8-turn short game because of the fact that you don't have the ability to, don't have the time to do everything that you want. And so you have to, it's a balancing act between all the different options you have available to you and all the different things that you want to do. And then if you have a turn which doesn't turn out well, like you fail a knowledge check or things like that, then it can stymie you in a way that, then you have to kind of go back to the drawing board and what am I going to do now? How am I going to get those points? Where am I going to get the points so I can possibly win the game? And so I think that's where the game really shines for me. It's that puzzle of trying to figure out, how am I going to get X number of points that are going to allow me to turn in at the very end of the game to be the winner, if you will. And so I enjoy that aspect. I enjoy that whole process. So, for all those reasons, and just the theme and the look and just the immersion of the game, I've really enjoyed my plays of Tau Ceti, and I think if you are a fan of this genre, you're really going to like it as well. So, if you have any questions about the game, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those to the best of my ability. As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, I am the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.